Are you in the fog of stress and you just don't know how to get out of it? In this video, we are diving into a really effective tool called the stress bucket that will not only help you identify the stressors in your life, but also help you look at the things that you're doing that might not be helping the situation and help you identify the things that you can do to manage stress better. Now, as a bonus, I have created a stress bucket worksheet, which is a 2-page worksheet where you can not only fill in all the different elements that I'm going to be talking about, but there's also a page with a filled in example. The link is in the description. Welcome back to my channel. I am Dr. Liz White, a consultant clinical psychologist specializing in anxiety and OCD. Don't forget to hit subscribe and the bell so that you are notified when I release my weekly videos. So stress is something that we all deal with, usually on a regular basis. I actually asked my Instagram followers how often they felt stressed, and 80% of them said most days. That is a really big proportion of people. We live in a fast-paced world. We're having constant notifications on our phones. There are lots of demands on our time. So it makes sense that stress is a common experience. Now, stress isn't all bad. A little bit of stress can actually motivate us towards the goals that we want to reach. However, excessive stress over a long period of time can really impact our physical and our mental health. Chronic stress, where our stress response is constantly being activated, can actually lead to issues like high blood pressure, heart disease, sleep problems, and even make us susceptible to certain illnesses. On the mental health side of things, it can contribute to things like anxiety, low mood, depression, and so on. So managing stress is really crucial, and that's what we're going to do today. So first, let's define stress. Now, stress is our body's response to a perceived threat or pressure. There are two main types: acute and chronic stress. Acute stress happens quickly in response to an event that has happened to us and usually doesn't last long, although it can be intense. Chronic stress, on the other hand, kind of lingers and it can recur frequently over a long period of time. And that's usually due to ongoing pressures. So how do you know if you're stressed? Well, some of the telltale signs physically will be things like headaches, fatigue, muscle tension, nausea, sleep issues, and in some cases, digestive problems. Mentally, you might experience trouble concentrating, have racing thoughts, feeling overwhelmed or anxious, experience mood swings, or a loss of interest in things that you once enjoyed. Chronic stress can also lead to feelings of sadness and depression. Now, something that I often get asked is, what is the difference between stress and anxiety? And stress usually comes from external pressures like a work deadline or a traffic jam, while anxiety usually involves worries about the future and how you'll cope with them. But remember, everyone experiences stress differently. So your symptoms might not exactly match someone else who's feeling stressed. But if you're recognizing any of the symptoms that I listed before, it is a sign that you need to address your stress levels. And that's where the stress bucket comes in. Now, this was a model that was developed by Brabham and Turkington, and it's super helpful for understanding how stress can affect you. So imagine that you have a bucket that represents your ability to handle stress. And as I mentioned, I have a free download, so you may want to pause this video, go and download it so that you can see what I'm talking about. So I want you to picture raindrops falling into your bucket, and these raindrops represent all of the different stressors in your life. So they could be volume of work, or kids demanding things from you, or the car needs fixing, or there's an electricity bill that was much higher than you thought it would be. Now, if your bucket fills up too much, it will overflow, causing the symptoms of stress that we talked about. So your goal in managing stress is to prevent your bucket from overflowing in the first place. So on the worksheet, there is a section that helps you think about what are the stressors in my life. So it's really helpful to just list down the things in your life that are causing you stress, because sometimes naming them can just help. Now, the stress bucket is not like your usual bucket that you would find in the hardware store. It has two taps on it. Now, I know buckets don't have taps on them, but just bear with me for a moment. So one tap lets the water out and the other tap has a hose attached to it that goes back into the bucket. So the tap with the hose represents the unhealthy or unhelpful coping strategies that we all do in our lives. So the things that you do that might give you temporary relief from stress, but in the long run, it doesn't really help. And actually, all it does is it increases stress by putting water back in your bucket. Now, some examples of unhelpful coping strategies would be things like excessive drinking or using recreational drugs, or excessive doom scrolling or on your phone a lot, comfort eating, and taking your stress out on others, which in the long run increases stress because it doesn't do your relationships any favors. So, again, using the worksheet, be super honest with yourself about the things that you do that you feel like are helping you cope with stress, but actually, when you really think about it, they're only really putting the water back into your stress bucket. It's not really helping you in the long run. Now, on the other hand, the healthy tap on the other side is a tap where when you open that tap, the water runs out, and that represents the things that you can do or the strategies that you can do. It helps you relieve the stress. Now, before I get into the things that you can practically do to help reduce your stress levels, do me a favor and just hit subscribe or even the like button if you're finding value from this video. So here are some things that you can do that will help reduce your stress levels and therefore the water in your stress bucket. First is physical activity. Now, there are numerous studies over spanning many years that show that physical exercise helps you manage stress. And I'm not talking about running marathons or doing Ironman contests or things like that. Just a simple walk, even a short walk, can help you manage stress. Number two is shifting your perspective. Now, the thing about stress and anxiety is that it really narrows our perspective on our lives and the problems that we have. So, zooming out and seeing the bigger picture of your life can really help. Now, I have a video on overthinking where I talk a bit more about this idea of stepping back from your worries or stepping back from the thoughts that are creating stress. And I will link that in the description. Number three is practice mindfulness or mindful moments. Now, again, there is lots of studies that show that doing a regular mindfulness practice can really help with stress. And I do have a couple of guided mindfulness videos that, again, I'll link in the description. They're very short, they're about 6 minutes long. They're quite easy to do. You just follow along, and they do really help just give you a bit of space and help you to pause during your day. And to get the most benefit from mindfulness, it's recommended to try and do a little bit each day. So even if it's 5 minutes. Number four is slow down. Now, stress speeds us up, doesn't it? When we've got a lot of demands and there's lots of things going on, we rush. We rush from one thing to the next thing. And just slowing down, just pausing can really help us manage stress. And what I would recommend here is just taking pauses or even breaks through the day. If you're working a 10-hour day and you're not taking lunch or you're not even getting up from your desk, that is problematic for stress. And use those pauses or those breaks to check in with yourself. How am I doing today? How are my stress levels? And this can just help you get the stress levels in check. So if you notice actually, that today's been a really stressful day, then you can take action to help mitigate it. So number five is self-soothing. So the ability to soothe ourselves when we're feeling anxious, when we're feeling stress, is a skill that we can learn. And if you can use your five senses to do this, it can really help with stress, particularly when you're feeling very overwhelmed. And I have lots of ideas on how you can do this in an article that I wrote. Again, I'll put the link in the description. So the next one is, a basic one. It's sleep. Make sure you get good quality and enough sleep. So around 7 to 9 hours, and practice good sleep hygiene. So having a cool bedroom, not having your phone around you at night, trying to go to bed at a regular time each night as well. The next one is connect with others. Now, what we know about stress is that when we have good social connections and we're spending time with people that we want to spend time with, that can really help with stress. So, seeing your friends, spending time with family, making the time. And I know this is really hard when we are really stressed and we feel really like there's just so much weight on our shoulders. It can be so difficult to create the time to do that, but it is essential if you are going to manage stress. And then this links in with my last point, which is enjoyment, having fun. Make time for activities that make you laugh and that you enjoy, because laughter and fun are excellent stress relievers. Now, remember, everyone is different. So, what helps me relieve stress will be different to what helps you relieve stress. So it's about finding your own way with it, experimenting with a few things, but making a commitment to try those things. So again, on the worksheet, there is a section for you to write down the things that are either working for you now and that you want to do more of, or things that you haven't tried before and you think, actually, yeah, I'll give that a go and maybe that will help. So I do hope you found this video helpful. Do let me know if you've got any questions about stress. Let me know in the comments. Until next time.